It is hard to fathom that here we are. A college football season has gone so quickly, and we are now in the first weekend of December, and it's championship weekend. It seems like only yesterday, it was the last weekend in August. Temperatures outside were well in the hundreds for most of us, and we were just starting. But it has been one hell of a football season, both in college and pro. For me, and hopefully for you, you've made a ton of money. I won again last night. Another raise the bar 20-dime winner. Boise State getting the job done. Easy winning cover against UNLV, and you know what that means for me. When I win, I'm continuing to press the action because today I'm going for football winner number 17 out of 22. That's college and pro combined. I'm going for winning day number 18 out of 24. That's in every sport combined. With yet another raise the bar 20-dime football winner number 22 out of 33. And remember, these raise the bar plays are my second highest rated play. Number 22 out of 33 on the last game on the board. It's your Big Ten championship game in Indianapolis between Penn State and Oregon. And just like Boise State last night, it is once again going to be the half price play of the day over at DeMarcoSports.com simply by using coupon code HALF, HALF, as I go for Saturday best bet winner number 11 out of 14. So it has been a hell of a season, a hell of a Saturday roll, and one more winner. Let's cap it off here today. Hi, everyone. Al DeMarco here, General Manager, DeMarcoSports.com. If you haven't figured that out yet, I don't know whose video you're watching. And today I'm going to break down all the other games here for Championship Saturday, with the exception of Marshall and UL Lafayette. Because I have no clue about either one of these teams, although Marshall is the best point spread team in the country this year. And B, because I don't give a damn about those two teams. So there you go. Listen, the complimentary plays, and again, these are the plays, the best of the worst, as I always like to call them. And people actually complain about them. God knows why. I don't know what your problem is, guys. But you're more than welcome to join the Cockroach Club anytime. Listen, the top plays here on the video reports in college football on Saturdays. Well, they've won 10 out of 14. Notre Dame, last Saturday, easy winner, getting the job done at USC. Geez. I've made a lot of money on Saturdays in college football between the top plays over at DeMarcoSports.com and the best of the worst top plays here. I don't know what more you want. So, with that being said, let's get to it. And the top play today, I'm going to go to the ACC championship game, which is going to, of course, being played at the Charlotte Bank of America Stadium in Charlotte. And I'm going to go with SMU minus the 2.5 points over Clemson. Of course, Clemson backed into this game because of Miami of Florida's loss to the Orange last week. And SMU, I'm kind of surprised, is only a 2.5 point favorite in this one. You know, SMU's season turned around in game number 3 when they lost to BYU at home. That's when last year's starter, Preston Stone, after that game, was benched, and they inserted Kevin Jennings in as the starter. And, you know, it's kind of ironic that he is now still the starter here because his first start last year happened to be the AAC championship game and victory against Tulane when Preston Stone last year in the game prior broke his leg. And do you realize he is 10-1 straight up as a starter? And this team, under Jennings' direction, has won 9 in a row and gone 7-2 ATS since losing to BYU. And Jennings, of course, is much more of a dual threat passer, and the SMU offense has just been dynamic. And here he is a year later, and now he's quarterbacking the Mustangs in the ACC championship game. And of course, they bought their way in to a much bigger power conference now. And it certainly has paid dividends for that zillion dollars they paid. And Jennings has had a great season, over 2,700 yards passing. Nearly 67% of his passes have been on target, 19 touchdowns. The amazing thing, he has thrown the ball nearly 300 times, but he has only been sacked 9 times. That's outstanding mobility, but also great offensive line protection. And I think that comes into play here. And by the way, you know, this is a guy who is also a guy that is always a threat to take off. And think about Clemson's loss last week to South Carolina. And that was a game they lost at home. South Carolina's quarterback, Lanaris Sellers, ran for 178 yards, if you exclude the sacks, 178 yards, and forced 18 missed tackles. That's how elusive Sellers was. And I'm telling you, Jennings is elusive as well. And I think with SMU, they also have a much more potent ground attack as well. Um, where South Carolina, I don't really think did, because you got Bashard Smith, who is a Miami transfer. He's had a heck of a year, 1,167 yards, 14 touchdowns. He's also a good pass receiver as well, 27 catches out of the backfield. So you've got a Clemson run defense that gives up almost 150 yards per game. Clemson's going to try to establish the run here naturally. And I don't know if they're going to be successful because SMU, although the Ponies did not play as tough of a schedule as Clemson did, I will grant you that. But still, their run defense is number 4 in the nation, giving up about 96 yards a game, 2.8 yards per carry. And I just think they're a more dynamic offensive team, an underrated defensive team. I do not, by any stretch of the imagination, think this is going to be a 17-14 game. I think this is going to be somewhere like 34-30, 37-31. It's going to be a high scoring give and take fireworks type of game. But I like SMU here. And of course, at 2.5, if the line happens to go to 3, then of course I'm telling you to buy down the half point. And I also am concerned a little bit about Clemson's injuries. Their top running back, Phil Maffa, I think is his name, um, reportedly rumored to have a shoulder injury. And he has really not been very productive in their 2 of their last 3 games. One of them was against the Citadel, and they didn't really need him. But, you know, this guy has played 636 snaps. He has been like the workhorse of this Clemson ground game. So if he's not ready to take 25 carries today, I know they have some talented backup running backs. I just don't know. So again, even though statistically Clemson has always dominated the ACC championship, there's a new gun in town, and it's SMU, and I like SMU in this one. So that would be your top play. Your next play would be Miami of Ohio. Yes, I'm going into the MAC. And remember, in November, I had 3 major wager releases in the Mid-American Conference, and I went 3-0. And twice I backed Miami of Ohio. And today, Miami of Ohio is a 2.5-point favorite over Ohio. The second battle of the bricks this year, the first time that has been able to happen because Mid-American Conference, like so many others, got rid of the East-West division, so they just took the top 2 teams finishing. And ironically, it's these 2 being played at Ford Field in Detroit. I like this matchup because you've got a Red Hawks team that is so much more experienced. They've won the regular season meeting, and don't be confused by the 30-20 final score because Miami of Ohio was firmly in control of that game, 30-6 in the fourth quarter before Ohio, the Bobcats scored twice to make it a more respectable game. And they were a 3.5-point favorite at home, Miami of Ohio, and now they're 2.5 points in a neutral field. Yeah, I will take them. You got Brett Gabbert, who's a 6th-year senior. In MAC play this year, he averaged 218 yards passing a game, 18 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. You've got the more experienced coach in Chuck Martin, who's twice won the MAC championship. Gabbert won it as a freshman back in 2019. Now, the Red Hawks repeated last year, but Gabbert prior to that game had suffered a broken leg, so he did not play. So they are the defending champions. And again, they enter here with a 7-game win streak, covering 6 of those 7. I will grant you that the Bobcats did close with 5 straight wins. Probably their most impressive was winning at the Glass Bowl against Toledo. But I just like Miami of Ohio in this particular spot. I think they're the stronger defense. They're a little more balanced offensively because Ohio's strength, their bread and butter, is simply running the ball. They're not a very strong passing attack. And again, I think Miami of Ohio is more of a veteran team and a team that is 12th in FBS in terms of allowing points per game, only 17.3. That also paces the MAC too. So again, I'm going to go with Miami of Ohio, and that would be my second play. By the way, you see it at the bottom of the screen. If you'd like to get my best bet today and you haven't done so all season, or if you happen to be new to DeMarcosports.com, you certainly qualify. You can get my top play. You can get Rick Torino's latest 100 dime. Max Wager, all in Max Wager. I think he's going for number 23 out of 30 since he joined the site 2+ seasons ago. 23 out of 30. It's on Iowa State and Arizona State. You can get that play and all the other plays of all the handicappers for free. The 2-day free trial. You pick the days. You can be today and tomorrow. You pick them. It's free. If you've never used it before or made a purchase over DeMarcosports.com, why not? There's nothing more than free. I can't sell free any better than telling you it's free. And if you have any questions, you can always contact customer service over at DeMarcosports.com. Now, these next two games, they're tough. So let's talk about the one at noon. It's going to be at AT&T Stadium in Arlington. It's Arizona State and Iowa State. Arizona State is a 1.5-point favorite. At the beginning of the week, I thought Arizona State was going to be the play. And then the word came out that they lost one of their three offensive stars, and that's their wide receiver, Jordan Tyson, who suffered a broken collarbone in last week's game against Arizona. Don't underestimate how important this guy is. I mean, 75 catches, over 1,000, actually over 1,100 yards this season, and 10 touchdowns. So you've got the quarterback, you've got the outstanding running back in Cam Scatterbo, right? And then you've got this guy. So you've now eliminated 33% of your offensive production as far as I'm concerned, because you've now taken one of those three guys out. Iowa State started strong, 7-0, had the back-to-back losses, but then they finished strong, okay? I think this is going to be a nip and tuck game. I, I think the bettors out there, I think Arizona State might be the more popular play because everybody saw Arizona State against BYU. Everybody's talked about Arizona State and Kenny Dillingham because he's a little bit of a whack job, I think. Definitely has short fuse, right, for a temper. And certainly Arizona State's played well down the stretch with 5 straight wins and covers. But, who did they beat? They won at Oklahoma State, big deal. They barely got by Central Florida at home by 4. Okay, I will grant you the 24-14 win at Kansas State was impressive. The way they took care of business at home against BYU was impressive. Beating Arizona, no big deal. So the 5 straight wins, I think it's going to be a very close game. So I lean a little toward Arizona State. I will stick with my original premise, but I think this is going to be a high-scoring game, and it's going to be damn close. Tough game. Now, this is the game, Texas and Georgia, the SEC championship game, which really has me in knots. So let's talk about the game, okay? As I said on Thursday about the Packers and the Lions, if you happen to be a customer of mine, I wrote on the website that even though I am 4-0-1 this year with the Lions, and they've all been major wager plays, I thought the Packers were going to be the play, and that was the way I would go, but I don't bet on hunches, and instead, I went into the NBA and I came up with an easy double-digit winner, because it doesn't matter when you cash a winning ticket what sport it's in, as long as it's a winner. But I think that one of the problems that handicappers have in this industry is they let their vanity get in their way. That there is nothing wrong with saying that sometimes I just don't know. Sometimes it's better to watch a game as a fan. And how many times have I told you? As a matter of fact, there's a little video here at the top of the screen you can even click on, that marquee games are often the toughest to win. And that's Texas, Georgia. Because I thought, and a matter of fact, the only 30-dime play, and these are the biggest of the biggest plays. I've had 38 of them in 23 years. And I went 4-1 with them this year. I've won 7 of the last 8 over the past 2 seasons. The one loser this year, Texas and Georgia. I was on the wrong side of that game. And as I watched that game, I realized something. Georgia's offensive and defensive lines manhandled Texas. That a true SEC team, I know they're both in the SEC, but a true SEC team that had been recruiting SEC type of athletes for years simply was bigger and better than the guys at Texas coming out of the Big 12, anticipating a move to the SEC, had. And that strength and physical size along the lines was the difference in that game. I'm not concerned with the way Georgia played against Georgia Tech, because that game meant the world to Georgia Tech. It meant nothing to Georgia. This is the game that mattered for Georgia. And yet, you got to give Georgia props for the way they overcame that 19-point deficit or whatever it was to win it, right? And this is their home away from home, the Mercedes-Benz Stadium. It's kind of surprising that Georgia was the road favorite in Austin, but playing in their own backyard of Atlanta, practically, they're a 2.5 point underdog. I just don't see it. And I think everybody in the world is going to bet Texas today, but I think Georgia is to play. I want to bet it. I'm going to watch it. Can't wait to see it. But I think Georgia today rises to the occasion. Yeah, the team that's 3-9 against the spread this season rises to the occasion because, again, I watched that game. I saw how their defensive and offensive lines just manhandled Texas. I will say, though, however, that Texas has certainly developed a penchant to run the ball more in the latter half of the season. They could not run the ball at all against Georgia in that first game. But, I will also point out the devil's advocate side that Texas won at Michigan. They beat Oklahoma and Dallas. They won at Vanderbilt, Arkansas, and Texas A&M. So they're undefeated outside of Austin, but who played a tougher schedule? Georgia by far. Again, I still lean a little towards Georgia in that game. So your unofficial top play, again, is going to be SMU. And then number 2 is going to be Miami of Ohio. And a hunch on Arizona State. I mean, just a hunch. It's not an official free play. And again, I think a hunch on Georgia, too. But there, I ran down all the other games. I'll leave Marshall and UL Lafayette to you. Good luck, guys, and we'll talk again tomorrow.